The rescue operation began shortly after 5 a.m. as a Coast Guard helicopter was the first on the scene 30 miles east of Chincoteague, Virginia. 7 vessels, including 3 Coast Guard cutters, 2 Navy ships, and 2 merchant ships, were also dispatched. They were looking for survivors among a crew of 36 on the Marine Electric, a coal ship headed to Massachusetts from Norfolk. This is possibly the last shot of the vessel before it sunk, a still photo taken by a Coast Guard pilot. All that remained was a gray hull and a portion of the prop. With heavy west-northwesterly winds and seas at 15 to 18 feet, water was coming over the bow after 3 a.m. when the ship sent its first distress call. By 4:13, the crew was abandoning ship.
The reports got she was doing progressively less well, and at 4:13, she indicated that she was abandoning ship.
Only 2 crewmen made it to the 5 boats that were launched. They and 1 man found in the water are the only known survivors. 24 other bodies have been recovered.
We've recovered 27 people, of which 3 are alive and 24 deceased, which leaves 9 unaccounted for.
It's believed the others were in the engine room and didn't make it out in time. Before noon, the ship was completely submerged. In these Chopper 10 shots, all that could be seen was a flare, an oil slick, and coal dust residue that marked the spot where it went down. But the search continued. From Chopper 10, we could see body bags on the deck of a Coast Guard cutter. Of the first 8 that were rescued, they were all brought here to the airport in Salisbury, Maryland. From that point, they were taken to the hospital on the peninsula. There, 5 were announced dead after arrival, but there are still 3 survivors at this time. Robert Cusick, who is in serious condition, Eugene Kelly and Paul Dewey, both in fair condition, are the 3 survivors. The others found with life preservers on died from hypothermia. The water temperatures were in the high 30s. Coast Guard officials are blaming the disaster on a severe storm which had hit the East Coast on Friday. Eric Reynolds, The Daily News. The Coast Guard search and rescue operation for the 9 missing crewmen from the Marine Electric has been suspended. The operation had been conducted since 5 a.m. Saturday when a Coast Guard chopper arrived on the scene 30 miles off the Virginia coast with a 605-foot coal vessel capsized. Chances are remote at this time of finding any more survivors. Coast Guard officials say that debris and the 27 crewmen found were all in a confined area. The 9 missing may have been in the ship's engine room.
Debrief of the survivors had indicated that engine room personnel had been notified to abandon ship. Whether or not they ever made it to the deck level is unknown.
Of the 27, only 3 are alive today. They were flown to the Salisbury, Maryland airport. The 3, Robert Cusick, Eugene Kelly, and Paul Dewey, were then taken to a hospital and treated for hypothermia. 5 others were pronounced dead at the Salisbury Hospital. 19 of the bodies recovered were brought here to the State Medical Examiner's office in Norfolk. The refrigeration truck arrived at 7:45 a.m. Since that time, the task of identifying the bodies has been going on inside. The medical examiner's staff are taking them in one by one, and with calls from relatives, are confirming identities. 15 have been identified, but 4 others, 3 white males and 1 black, are still unknown. The cause of the capsizing is still unknown at this time, but a severe winter storm with high seas and heavy winds is the probable cause. Both the Coast Guard and the National Transportation Safety Board plan on investigations. In Norfolk, Eric Reynolds, The Daily News.
10 for Life was a rescue squad relief bill. An extra $10 would be tacked on to nearly every traffic ticket. The $4 to $6 million raised to be distributed to financially strapped emergency medical care providers across the state. The 10 for Life idea, however, didn't make it. It was seen as too expensive. The House decided to drop it to 5 for Life, a $5 add-on for every moving traffic violation. The Senate decided to scrap that altogether and instead add a $1 charge to what we now pay for these stickers that we get in our car. We now pay $20 to the DMV for that. It would go up to $21.
More equitable system.
With County Senator Daniel Byrd sponsored 10 for Life, but now favors making all car owners share in the cost of the statewide emergency fund. There is a dispute, however, over how the money should be allocated. State firefighters want localities to control the dollars. Portsmouth fireman Gary Odell is their spokesman.
That a portion of the fund should go back to every locality. I don't care if it's a county, a city, a volunteer, a paid, but it should be based on the amount of funds collected within that jurisdiction.
I would prefer seeing it be distributed on the basis of need to urban and rural areas throughout the Commonwealth.
Senator Byrd adds that however the money is parceled out, the citizens will be the winners.
This will make Virginia a first-class state when it comes to saving people's lives on the highways or otherwise.
In Richmond, Joel Rubin, The Daily News. The proposal to raise the drinking age for beer has been the most over-debated measure to come before the General Assembly. The House of Delegates received volumes of testimony before approving a bill raising the age to 21 both for store and restaurant purchases.
We have about 25,000 people killed in this country by drunken driving every year.
This week it was the state Senate's turn to hear students, educators, businessmen, and assorted government officials tell why and how the age should be adjusted. And what the members of the Senate Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee like is a 21 off-premises, 18 on-premises proposal. The rationale for it best expressed by a VCU professor.
Virginia needs a minimum drinking law that is realistic with respect to societal norms about drinking, the availability of alcohol to teenagers, that encourages responsible alcohol use among older youth, and limits the availability of alcoholic beverage to high school students. An on-premise of 18 for beer and an off-premise of 21 would accomplish this purpose.
The committee listened, then killed a Senate bill that would have raised the age to 21 across the board. What the Senate committee did was buy itself some time. By choosing to act on a House bill instead of its own, the committee is hoping that momentum will grow for the 21 off-premises, 18 on-premises proposal, that it will grow so much that the full Senate will pass it, and teenagers should hope the full House will too. In Richmond, Joel Rubin, The Daily News.
Amid the bustling construction activity of the downtown Norfolk waterfront will be yet another project, residential development along Freemason Harbor. The old red brick Dunmore warehouse shown here will be raised to make way for a 5-story, 62-unit condominium facing the Elizabeth River, and the existing white 2-story pier building will be expanded into 3 stories to accommodate 27 condominiums, costing more than $9 million to construct. The plan submitted by the Christopher Companies was approved by commissioners from among 3 proposals presented to the Housing Authority. It includes a 50-boat slip marina, underground parking, a large landscape plaza that will join the 2 structures, and exteriors that are in keeping with the surrounding architecture, according to Christopher Companies President Fred Kober.
What we have tried to do is to retain as much of the feel and the flavor for the existing architecture in that area of town as possible. We do not feel that a new, real contemporary kind of approach would be appropriate.
Kober says the units are expected to sell for between $95,000 to over $200,000, depending on the size and location. Just around the time the waterside opens, construction is scheduled to begin on Freemason Harbor, and is expected to be completed in early 1984. In Norfolk, Ava Hurdle, The Daily News.
The body of 52-year-old Doyle Levy was found Saturday morning in the Surf Motel. He had been dead several hours, stabbed to death with a knife. Police say Levy checked into the East Ocean View Motel sometime before midnight Friday. They don't have a definite motive, but Levy's wallet was missing, and so was his car. Around 2:30 Sunday morning, Levy's car turned up here on Rogers Avenue in Norfolk. This is the Glenwood Park section of the city, a lower middle-income neighborhood where mostly older and retired people live. Police believe the killer abandoned the car, which was taken in and dusted for fingerprints. Levy taught general math and algebra at Washington High School. He was well-liked and described as warm and congenial.
Doyle Levy was a person who was pretty well liked by the majority of the faculty. Well, I'd say all of them, really. In fact, this morning we've had quite a few sad faces in the building. He's an outgoing person, easy to get along with.
Neighbors and the manager at his apartment complex, where he lived alone for 16 years, echoed those sentiments. A quiet, friendly guy. Police are looking for this man in connection with the murder, a white man, 18 to 22 years old, with a slight build, wearing Western clothing. If you recognize the suspect, call the Norfolk Detective Bureau at 441-2281. In Norfolk, Cynthia Smoot, The Daily News.
This is Ocean View. This is a brand new suit I just had pressed. This is the worst of the storm. This is crazy.
The second northeaster in 4 days brought us major headaches again today. Driving your car in the driving rain was the biggest problem.
Obviously, we've got heavy surf, heavy rain, ice pellets, winds gusting in excess of 50 miles an hour. But take heart, this storm is not as bad as last Friday's.
The height of the storm hit us at low tide, so unlike Friday's storm, there has been no major tidal flooding. This stormy weather is becoming almost routine out at the National Weather Service.
The weather patterns, short-term patterns, weeks or maybe even a month, sometimes get rutted into a certain pattern, and we're in an East Coast pattern whereby the lows are tending to move up along the East Coast.
So we're locked into a pattern of storms, as in maybe another one later this week.
Potentially it's there that this one could be another fairly decent East Coast storm.
Wonderful! I might be sent out here again in 3 or 4 more days. Reporting from the ocean front, I'm Don Slater, and I'm getting back to the car.
The nation's first fatality due to the 5-day-old independent truckers' strike was laid to rest today in Selma, North Carolina. The violence appears, though, only just to have begun, as 20 gunfire attacks on truckers erupted throughout North Carolina today alone. The State Highway Patrol is calling it the strike's most violent so far. Following an address at Elizabeth City State University tonight, Governor James Hunt said that he's going to take every step that he can to deal with the problem. An immediate step today was calling in the National Guard.
We're going to be using all the National Guard helicopters that we can use effectively to try to watch the interstates, to watch the primary trucking routes. These helicopters will fly both day and night. They have infrared equipment on them so that they can see what's happening on the roads at night. They will have highway patrolmen riding with the helicopter pilots who will have constant air-to-ground communications. And we're going to do everything we can to find these people and to arrest them.
So at least for the weekend, North Carolina highways will possibly be a bit safer for the truckers who must drive. The helicopters and additional troopers are now out in full force. And according to Governor James Hunt, anyone caught will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. In North Carolina, Eric Reynolds, The Daily News. Deborah Clark was never an activist for her atheistic beliefs until she moved to Tidewater. The area, which is known for its strong religionists, as Clark calls them, has ignited her and fellow members of the Society of Separationists to become more visible and vocal. The society, which is for separation of church and state, feels there's a strong movement here to mislead.
I came to this area and was confronted with the serious advertising campaign that's going on among the media and individuals to push the God idea.
They will now use the media themselves to inform the public. There's already a Dial an Atheist number and plans for cable TV and newspapers to become information tools. An atheist does not believe in God, instead logic and reality. Great Americans like Benjamin Franklin, Albert Einstein, and Virginia's own Thomas Jefferson rejected Christianity. Clark says that educated people are likely to be atheist.
The more informed, the more sophisticated, the more educated, the less likely you are to fall for theology.
Almost 2,000 years of organized religion down the drain, Clark says, will not cause chaos because everyone is born an atheist, and an atheist is responsible for their actions.
An atheist has usually decided on an ethical approach to life and being responsible for your own actions.
Eric Reynolds, The Daily News.
The SWAT team arrived on the scene late this afternoon after employees at Parker Cadillac called police. A man who was holding hostages inside B&F Tire store on Virginia Beach Boulevard, one of them managed to escape. He staggered across his parking lot and into the showroom of Parker Cadillac. He had been wounded. The general manager of the car dealership described what the wounded man told him.
He just said that he had been shot, and then before the rescue squad took him away, he said that his partner had been shot in the face.
The other 2 victims known to have been in the building at the time were still inside throughout most of the siege. Police negotiators got the man who was doing the shooting on the phone and eventually talked him out. Captain Thomas Irving was the officer in charge on the scene.
He did throw his gun out the window, as you can probably see back here on the ground now, and later came out with his hands behind his head. The SWAT team was in position along with their precinct units. We took custody of the individual, went in and searched the building, found we have at least 2 people injured and 1 other seriously hurt.
Martin Luther King won a Nobel Peace Prize for helping end segregation in the South and bringing the issue of civil rights to the attention of the entire world. Since his assassination in 1968, a handful of states have set aside Dr. King's birthday, January 15th, as legal state holidays. But in Virginia, that has failed 8 times, and many blacks are angry. State NAACP Chairman Jack Gravely telling the House General Laws Committee that a negative vote again would be remembered on Election Day.
That if black folk give a dance by voting for you, then you better pay the band. Martin Luther King bill is that band. Thank you very much.
Committee members, however, asked whether it would be wise to honor a man who critics contend was a communist agitator, a traitor. That incensed Richmond State Senator Douglas Wilder.
I defy anyone to show any credible evidence that Dr. King ever was a communist or that he ever was associated with communists, and I defy them to bring it up and put it on this desk at this time.
To make Martin Luther King's birthday a state holiday, however, another current state holiday, Election Day, will have to be forfeited. And the argument goes, if state employees have to work on Election Day rather than loaf, they'll be less likely to vote. And so once again, the committee refused to report the King bill to the House floor. That leaves January 1st as a day honoring Dr. King in Virginia, but to most blacks in the state, that's just not enough. In Richmond, Joel Rubin, The Daily News.
You'll remember in our last episode, workmen were busily filling tube sections A and B with concrete. Today, riding much lower, they're almost filled. And they've been joined by sections C and D. E and F arrive in late February.
At about this time, you start to notice all kinds of weird-looking machines on the tunnel project. Behind me is this screeding barge, which actually is nothing more than an underwater road grader. Grading begins tomorrow morning, and the contraption is accurate to within plus or minus 1 inch, even underwater. And if you've looked out on the Elizabeth River not far from the Naval Hospital, you've seen the lay barge. When the tube sections are completely filled, they're too heavy to float, so the lay barge holds them up and then gently lowers them into place. The barge is huge, much bigger than the one now in use in Baltimore.
But where it differs is that has a safe working load of approximately 500 tons, and the one we have designed and built has a safe working load of over 2,000 tons. That's the biggest one I know of in the Western world.
The tunnel sections will be lowered into place in late February. In Portsmouth, Terry Zahn, The Daily News.
The results of the world's oil glut has finally trickled down to Tidewater consumers. Prices at self-serve pumps have dropped 5 to 10 cents in recent weeks. Bob Holman of the Tidewater Service Station Dealers Association says prices are lower because of excess fuel.
There's just plenty of fuel out here, and all the oil companies are fighting for their share to keep into the market.
But Tidewater's prices are not as low as other regions. Some places in Oregon, gas sells for less than 90 cents a gallon. One reason is typical in Virginia.
Taxes are one of them. Also the availability of what we call spot market fuel, and this would be gasoline that's probably refined and comes in as a finished product coming into some of these ports, and they're able to buy it and put it on the market. And here again, you'll probably find that you have a lot more unbranded type stations in that area.
Even though the prices are dropping, some dealers are only cutting back 2 and 3 cents per gallon, and that has caused a lot of concern. Because effective April 1st, the government will be slapping on an additional 5 cents per gallon tax. That nickel tax must be passed on. Depending on the market, it could be to the consumer.
The way the prices have been dropping, there's a good chance we will not feel it that much and that the price may be stabilized, but come 1 April, you'll see 5 cents tacked on to whatever we got that day.
But Holman says that if trends continue, prices may be even lower by April 1st. Eric Reynolds, The Daily News.
By their own estimates, there are as many as 150,000 gay men and lesbian women in the Tidewater area. While they're not a militant faction, their presence is increasingly being felt in the organizations they've formed and the self-help groups they sponsor. Like the information number that keeps the gay community linked.
Gay information line, I hope. Particularly during the summer, we receive a lot of calls from tourists. They know that they can look in the telephone directory under gay and find the hotline and call and find out where local nightclubs will be located.
More than half the calls are from non-gay people who need help relating to their gay relatives. Counseling is a big part of what they do. Their religious affiliations also lend support to a lifestyle that many still condemn.
I think that there's a need for churches to do outreach to the gay and lesbian community to show, to help, and to heal our community from the pain that churches have inflicted.
When you're with your own kind, you're able to relate more to what you believe in and to the God feeling that you have, rather than worrying about what your person standing next to you in the pew is going to think.
How the courts view homosexual parents is another issue that binds the homosexual community in Tidewater together.
Of cases that have actually gone to court on custody matters, lesbian mothers have lost just about 90% of the time.
Tomorrow we'll take a look at what it means to be gay or lesbian in Tidewater and how these people cope. In Norfolk, Kathleen Bachman, The Daily News. When these people agreed to talk to us, they were among the very small percentage of the thousands of homosexuals in the Tidewater area who live with their definitions of themselves openly. Most do not. They may get the local gay newspaper, but hundreds of them retreat behind the walls of their own social clubs.
For heterosexuals, the whole world is their cruising area, you know, because they don't have to worry about who it is that they're approaching.
It is against the law to employ or serve homosexuals in gay or lesbian bars, or any bar for that matter. Many feel that law is clear evidence of the repressive atmosphere in Virginia.
I think it's a real complex question as to why people go to cruising points, either because they have to or because they want to, and sometimes I think both.
What do you mean have to?
Well, that there aren't outlets, other outlets in society as a whole.
Okay. People in the gay community believe a recent murder in the Ocean View area was gay-related, although police would not confirm or deny that. Those same people point to just such tragedies as reason enough to encourage openness among and about themselves. For some homosexuals, their way of asserting their rights is with their wallets.
Gay people now are not interested in spending their gay money at businesses that are not willing to support them, so we spend it among ourselves.
There's a very thriving gay community in the Tidewater area, and it's time that the heterosexual community knew about it, dealt with it, and learned to accept it.
In Norfolk, Kathleen Bachman, The Daily News.
Most jobs have their busy times. For Bob Gurley, it's Valentine's Day.
Barbara Sumberlin, we have a singing telegram for you.
Bob is manager of Fun One Enterprises, the oldest of the singing telegram services in Tidewater. Bob will make at least a dozen loved ones blush this day. A receptionist in Virginia Beach is first.
You'll never know, dear.
Fun One Enterprises may help you.
Back at Fun One, the phone is ringing off the hook. At least 100 orders had come in. Orders Bob and a staff of 5 will fill before the night is out. Yes, they'll be working their tails off, changing costumes in between stops to suit the suitors. And what an array Bob offers, from Gonzo the Gorilla to Dermot the Frog.
To brighten up your...
Bob Gurley says he was shy once. Now he's not. And a few hundred satisfied customers are glad of that. In Virginia Beach, Joel Rubin, The Daily News.
Is this about the funnest job you can think of?